You spend hours and hours making and decorating a beautiful cake, and then all of a sudden you get the dreaded call from your customer that something happened. What to do when cakes go wrong. Hi guys, it's Karolyn. I am back with another video, and if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you want to see the different tips and tricks and ways that I bake and decorate my cakes, then hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you can get notified whenever I release a new video. So today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to talk about Catastrophes, because although we would love everything to be perfect and go right all the time, sometimes things happen, we are human, and we have to find a solution to the problem. A couple weeks ago, I made a big beautiful cake and I delivered it and got the dreaded text a couple hours later that the cake fell apart. And I went through a whole string of emotions, and I wanted to share with you what I go through when something like that happens. So hopefully it can help you through the whole process if you are going through this as well. So I will show the cake. I'm not sure how I'm going to edit this, but I made this basketball themed cake. I will show it here. And then a couple hours later, I got a text from the customer telling me that the cake fell apart. I will show it here. It's hard to look at, especially knowing after how many hours you put into making it look beautiful and perfect, and to know that something happened, it's really disheartening. So she sent me a text saying the cake fell apart, and I know we always, like as cake decorators, we want to say, once the cake leaves our hands, I'm not responsible for it. But you have to think as a business owner, and I'm going to give you a couple tips and ways to get through this. I'm kind of rambling on right now. So tip number one, don't react right away to the phone call or the text message. Take time to gather your thoughts. And this is really important because tensions can get a little high when you're not expecting something like this to happen, and you need to come up with a solution or figure out what you want to do. So it's best to take a half hour, an hour to gather your thoughts, as much time as you can. Sometimes you can't take that much time, but you need to take time to gather your thoughts to think about a logical solution to the problem. So in my situation the other week, she texted me, and it was probably about a half hour before I got back to her, when I was able to cool my thoughts a little bit and gather my thoughts and reply in a professional way. Tip number two is to listen to your customer. Put yourself in their shoes. Realize that they just spent lots of their hard-earned money on a cake, and now they don't have a cake. Doesn't matter what happened to it. Try to be a little sympathetic in that they spent money on a cake and they were expecting to have this beautiful cake, and now something happened. I think it's human nature right away for us to say, well, it's not my fault. You're the one who has the cake, because technically we don't know what happens to the cake after it's out of our hands. We want to trust that people can take care of it properly, but you don't want to just be accusatory. Listen to what they say to you. Try not to react to them, and put yourself in their shoes, and then you can respond with a little more compassion. Tip number three, realize that there are two sides to every story. The customer can say that you were wrong because something happened to the cake. You can say that the customer was wrong because they didn't take care of it properly. So you're going back and forth. There's two sides to every story. What you don't want to do is get on Facebook, call your friends, call everyone you know, tell them this horrible thing that happened, because all you're going to do is they're going to hear your side of the story, and they are going to just reaffirm to you that you're right, and you are going to, I guess, get even more angry and look at the situation from one side, where you want to try to keep in mind both sides of the situation. Which brings me to tip number four, which is humble yourself, which is a very difficult thing to do. You have to sit back and think what you could have done better in that situation to prevent this from happening. Which she told me that she didn't think that there were enough supports in the bottom tier of the cake, which allowed it to collapse. And I agree with her. As much as it hurts, as much as it sucks, I should have put more straws in the bottom tier of the cake. I think if I did, there might have been some issues with it, but it wouldn't have collapsed because there would have been more support in the cake. So, lesson learned the hard way. Now I know I am putting extra support in my cakes, especially in the warmer months when cakes are more prone to get soft and collapse if they're out in the heat. Tip number 5. What you reap is what you sow. So the energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to get back. So that's when I say to listen to them and try to be sympathetic with the situation that's going on. If you come at your customer accusatory and backing off and saying this is your fault, you're not getting a refund, I'm not responsible, then they're going to come back at you, and it's just going to be a pissing match, if you will, because you're going to think you're right, they're going to think they're right, and you're not going to come to an agreement in the middle. It's very difficult, I will say, to look in the mirror and to realize that you did have a part, you did play a part in something going wrong. So just remember, I don't want to say kill them with kindness, but the more compassion that you have and the more that you let them know that you're willing to work towards a solution, it will keep the situation under control and keep everyone, I'm not going to say happy, but keep everyone in a positive mind space. And tip number 6, we always say in business that the customer is always right. And while people might not think that that's the right statement, I think that you always want your customer to be happy. I feel like the blame can come back to us no matter what. Even if you sign a release form, which I went online and I found a form that I could have my customers sign when they pick up a cake, holding me like a hold harmless. Basically, I'm not responsible for anything that happens to the cake after it leaves my hands. And most bakeries are that way. However, even if they sign a form, say if they signed a form and it still fell apart and they came back to you, how are you going to handle that? You can't just wash your hands of it and say, well, you signed this form. And, well, I mean, you can if you want to, but I just feel like it's not good business practice. If someone signs a form and something happens to the cake, you still want to work towards a solution. So I think it's best to reiterate to your customer and explain to them the best way to handle their cake after they pick it up. I email it to everyone when they first order a cake, but even at that, people don't read emails. They don't read all the attachments. So I think more information is better. Really, the neighbors. I think the more information that you can give them is just serves you better. That way there's less room for error. And of course my neighbor is doing something loud outside, but I will try to finish this video and not have it be too annoying with that in the background. Tip number 7, focus on the good. Realize that this does not happen all the time. You have a lot of good customers, good people who keep coming back to you, people who appreciate you. And just realize that this is a little glitch, a little bump in the road, something that you can get past and move on. I think it's best that you don't harp on this one situation because it will bring you down. It will drive you a little crazy. You're going to think, you lose money in the process, and it could drive you crazy if you just keep that mindset. Just try to switch your focus and think about all the good customers and try to stay in a positive mindset. And lastly, just remember that we are all human. We make mistakes, things happen. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So try to just take everything in stride and just know that it is going to be okay. Just to let you know, so with that incident that I had, I did refund her the money. I took full responsibility for what happened to that cake. It's a couple $100s that I lost, but I feel like I handled it as best as I could. She did have to reschedule her party because she didn't want to have a party without a cake. I think that every situation is different, and depending on what happens to you, you're going to want to decide if you're going to refund the whole amount, refund 50% of the cake, maybe make some free cupcakes, or whatever you would want to do to rectify the situation. Every situation is going to be different, so I think it really depends on what you feel is the best to do for your customer. So I really can't think of anything else. I think I covered all the bases, all the emotions that you go through when something like this happens. If you're in this situation right now, just breathe. The yoga teacher in me, just take some time, walk away, cool your head, try to think of a couple different solutions to your problem, and you will get through this. It will be okay. So I can't think of anything else to say. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And you can follow me on social media. I am on Facebook and Instagram, and I have my website. I will link all of that below. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!